Hi, I'm going to show you how to create this A5 poster in Adobe InDesign. First of all, we're going to start with a new page or a new document. And the settings that we're going to use are, we're going to select A5 from the drop-down menu. You don't need facing pages because we won't need a left and a right-hand page. This is just going to be a single page document. This is the size of an A5. The margins we're going to set to 0, but we are going to have a bleed of 3mm all the way around the outside of the page. If you don't have the option for bleed, could you press more options? You'll see that this dialog box will alternate between fewer options and more options. And finally, if you say OK, you will have a sheet of paper in front of you. The red border is the bleed area, and this area here is your sheet of paper. To begin with, we'll draw a frame by dragging from the red outline all the way down to the bottom corner. And we will place an image into this frame. So could you go to File and choose Place and select the graduates who are sitting down image. The image will appear in the box, and there are several ways you can get an image to automatically fit the size of a frame. There are some shortcuts over here, but I'll just demonstrate by drawing a smaller box. If I had a box this shape, or a frame this shape, and I say place and choose the same image, you'll see that the image is too big. All I'm seeing is some of the trees. When you click on this option here, it will fit the image widthways. So in other words, I'm seeing the students, but I'm not seeing the top and bottom. I can, by pressing down on this button, move the image up or move the image down, and you'll see a ghost appearing. It's as if when I release, the image will refresh. So the red outline is the image. If you click again or double click, you will return back to the frame. You'll see a little white circle in the middle, and that allows you to select the red of the actual picture itself. So other shortcuts are, if you click on this little button, what that will do is it will fit the image proportionately. So I see the height of the image, and I could then just squash in the sides of the frame. The other way to do all of this is to go to Object Fitting, and you'll see there is Fill Frame Proportionately, or there is Fit Content Proportionally. So they're both doing a feature where you can either fit by the width or fit by the height. Moving to this image, if I click in the middle, you'll see there is a little bit of red outline showing, which indicates that the image is slightly bigger. So what I could potentially do is just click on this button here, and it shrunk it a wee bit, but I'd still have my overlap. If I click on this button, I just get the width correct. What I might do is just push it a tiny bit that way, and I see a little bit more of the girl on the right, including her hands. Having done that, I'm now going to type some text, and I can get rid of this. This test area here is the pasteboard, and you can leave items on the pasteboard. Next thing I'll do is pull a guide across at 10mm. I know it's 10mm because up in this area up here it actually tells you the distance of an object as you move it. And next thing we'll do is we'll draw another frame and select the black pointer tool and then place the Newcastle logo. So navigate to the Newcastle University logo, and again I want to fit that in, and by selecting this box here I will fit it in the frame proportionally. In order to move an object in Adobe InDesign, you select the black pointer tool. This is the main selection tool in the program, and you click and drag and an object will move. Be very careful when you're moving images that are in frames, because if you move from the center, you'll find that you move the picture within the frame, so be careful not to do that. Click and drag from somewhere within the image, either on the outline or anywhere except exactly in the middle. So I want to move this up a wee bit, and I'm just clicking and dragging. If you wanted to be extremely precise, remember that the information palette at the top will let you position your object exactly. So if I type 20 in the Y, it's measuring 20 down from the top of the page. The original 00 is here, 0 across to 148, 0 to 210 down. And at any time you can get the position of an object. The next thing we're going to do is type some text in by clicking T for text. You click and drag on the screen and type how we. Now you'll notice that I can hardly see this, and that's because the text colour is black. So in the swatches palette we'll select paper, and then moving up to the information palette we'll type in the size, which is 42. The font is Arial, and the weight of it is going to be bold. So now we have text typed in our frame, but as you can see, I don't have a background colour. To do that, I'm going to select the black pointer tool and then choose cyan from the swatches palette. Whichever colour is at the front in the toolbox represents the foreground colour. This represents the outline. So if I put red on the outline, it's quite tricky to see. I'll make the stroke really thick. You'll see that I'll get a thick outline. As it happens, I don't need a stroke, so I'll put that back to none. The problem with this text at the moment is it's too close to the edge of the frame, so I want to indent it slightly, and the quickest and easiest way to do that is to go to Object, Text Frame Options, and then choose to indent. And as you can see, it's going in 3mm at the moment all the way around the outside. You can independently choose a different amount by breaking the chain here. As it happens, that should be fine. Then I'll say OK, and I'll squash this up so it's not taking up quite so much space. One really nice shortcut in InDesign is if you hold down the Alt key and drag, you create a duplicate. So I'm now going to double click into this duplicated box or copy and type the words "can help." And I can repeat that again, put my finger on Alt. You'll notice that the pointer's changed into a double arrow. I'm going to click and drag down and then double click into here, and I have just pasted in some text I had in the clipboard or the memory of the machine. The tiny little red cross is an indicator to say I've got more text than is fitting in the box. So all I'm doing is dragging it out. And this font is still Arial. I will still have it on bold, but I'll put it in 15 point. I think I've missed a bit there. Okay, so the next thing to do is to now draw another frame at the bottom, and in here we're going to place the Career Service logo. And once again, I want to fit that in by selecting the Fill Frame Proportionately command. If I want to see how this image is going to look without the distraction of the guides, I can click on the preview button, and now I get a sense of what I've created. To see the preview without the distraction of the tools, you can choose Presentation, and then you get an idea of what you've actually created. To come out of that mode, you press Escape. Finally, we'll save this piece of work. We'll now save this document as PDF, and to do that you go to the File menu and choose Export. I'm going to save this as a print PDF as opposed to an interactive PDF, and I'm going to press Save. When you call up the next dialog box, there are various presets, and if you wanted to send this through email for colleagues to comment upon, you could save it as a small file size. You will lose quality, but it would definitely not take up as much space. I will save this as press quality, and that will mean that it's suitable for printing professionally. As you click on these various buttons down the side, the dialog box in the middle will change. So one thing you might need to do is, this document has bleed, and that means that the image will print to the very edge of the sheet of paper. It will actually be printed on bigger paper than A5, and it will be guillotined. And it's common to put on bleed marks and crop marks. Sometimes people will put on registration marks and other colour information. I'll turn them all on so you can have a look at it. I do know that I have got some bleed settings in this document, so I'm going to tick this box as well. And then finally I'm going to say export, and I will hide InDesign and show you what it looks like. So we do have a huge amount of information there, including colour bars, crop marks and bleed marks. I'll save it again, but I will save it without these options so you can see the difference. So File, Export, and I'll just put number 2 at the end. Save. I'll go to marks and bleeds, take all of that off and export it. And here you can see the finished version. So again, that could be printed internally to your internal printer. Thanks very much. If you want to give this document to a colleague to continue working on, what you must do is always give your colleague the image files as well as the InDesign file. There is a quick way of doing this without having to remember if you've got 2 images or 3 images in the file, and it's to use a feature called Package. You go to the File menu and choose Package, and then simply choose the blue button, Package. It's warning me that I need to save the document, which I will do. Generally speaking, you can ignore this dialog box that comes up. You need to navigate to somewhere where you want to save the packaged item, and I'll save it at the desktop. This is a warning to say that you should not give fonts to anyone. It's not legally allowed. In the university, I'm sure you will all have the same fonts anywhere on your machine, so I don't think it should be a problem. Press OK, and then what will have happened in the background is that there is a folder at the desktop, and within that there is a copy of the document. Inside the links folder are all of the images that go to make up this document, and inside the fonts folder there is the font Arial, because that is the font that I've used. This little file here, instructions, was the text file which I didn't actually bother filling in. So packaging a document is useful if you want a colleague to completely take over a piece of work. You cannot just give the file which is called poster.indd. You need all the bits that go with it.